What's going on, guys? Josh here from Momentum Productions, and today I'm presenting you with this 4th axis rig system. I've been getting a ton of questions via email, Facebook, and YouTube of people asking me whether or not it's worth getting these 4th axis rigs. And let's go ahead and talk about what's included in this system before I give you my overall opinion and test footage. Now, before we get started, don't forget to give this video a like and subscribe to my channel with notifications on. In the box, we have the rig, a few extra springs for dampening, and we have our screws and tools. Now, how does this whole system work? This whole system works based off of these springs. These springs are able to dampen up and down movement. So for those of you who are new to gimbals and you constantly see up and down movements in your footage, the 4th axis stabilizer was designed to get rid of those movements. So this rig also comes with a few options. You can fit a ton of different gimbals here, like the DJI Ronin S, Crane 2, Crane V2, and so on and so forth. It can accommodate for most single-handed gimbals. It can also support a payload of 4.5 kilos or about 10 pounds. If you notice, we also have 1/4 20-inch ports on top of the handles and on the bottom of the system as well. That way you can mount things like lights, microphones, and monitors. Now, when it comes down to the size and weight of this 4th axis rig, it folds up pretty well and it weighs about a pound, pound and a half. It is gimmicky to set up because if you're using different size gimbals, you're gonna have to remove some screws, put in longer screws, and it's a process to actually get it up and working properly. However, if you have one gimbal and one simple setup, then I don't see this rig getting in the way too much. But the only time consumer with this rig is screwing on those screws, so just keep that in mind and make sure that you plan out your time on your shoot accordingly. We also have adjustment knobs that adjust the stiffness of the springs on the right and on the left side, so if you do use a heavier setup, those adjustments will help you out. Now, with the system, all you have to do is make sure that you have enough space to insert the gimbal. Once you do, just simply insert the gimbal. There's a rubber grip that holds onto it so it doesn't slip, and then just tighten up the screws. It's simple, but it does take a lot of time, as I mentioned earlier. Now, when it comes down to accessibility, it is kind of tough to access some of the buttons on the gimbal, so make sure that you adjust your gimbal accordingly. Now, if you notice, I did still attach my base tabletop tripod here. It is absolutely useless with this 4th axis rig because this rig is just so massive. The arms are actually lower than the tripod, so you can't really set it down anywhere. Here's the 4th axis rig in action. As you can see, as I jump up and down or move the gimbal around, the springs start bouncing up and down, and this is supposed to alleviate that 4th axis up and down movement. However, this only works for up and down. If you decide to do any other shots with the gimbal in a different position, it's gonna take away that 4th axis stabilization. So make sure that when you do use this rig, it's only in an up and down fashion. All right, so here's some of the test footage. To be honest, I did not find that this 4th axis did any better than me just simply holding up the gimbal. Now, before you draw any quick conclusions, consider this. This 4th axis rig takes a lot of time away from the learning process. So for those of you who just don't have the time to learn techniques with gimbals, this definitely helps you out. It's basically like training wheels for a bicycle, except this is for a gimbal. So if you need quick stability, this is definitely the option for you. When it comes down to comparing the footage with and without this 4th axis stabilizer, you don't really see a difference. I actually saw worse results when I was running with this thing because it provides that up and down bounce, and I feel like it did more bouncing than it did stabilizing. So when you become a pro at operating a gimbal, I still recommend just using your hands instead of a rig, but I'm gonna say this again, this is a perfect jump start into learning how to use a gimbal properly, especially for its price point. I think it's a great way to just jumpstart your education and jumpstart your training on using gimbals properly. So if you're interested in this product, go ahead and check it out in the link in the description box below. Again, if you're a pro filmmaker, if you're a pro gimbal operator, this might not be the option for you, but if you're just getting into this stuff, you should probably consider it. Alright guys, I'll see you in the next video. Peace!